Our show needs a beat reporter covering the Commanders, just so we could do check-ins.
Our show needs a beat reporter covering me. We should really do that.
That would be really good.
Does somebody want the Matthew Berry beat on Fantasy Football?
Traffic on I-95 is not looking good this morning, folks.
These 3 Diet Cokes in.
Yeah.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. We're still searching for that beat reporter, by the way. The application's open. Connor Rogers, Matthew Berry, Jay Crafter, Lawrence Jackson in the house. It's Bold Predictions Day.
Somebody could have, if there was a beat reporter that said, oh, Barry had a bad hair day. Because I don't know what was going on there. I don't have a lot of hair, to be perfectly honest with you, but, it did not look good in that particular clip.
Lawrence has a lot of hair and he's hiding.
He said, to be honest. I don't have a lot of hair, to be honest.
Yeah. Do you think,
clear it up.
Because if I hadn't been honest, you guys wouldn't have been able to tell. I'm been able to get by with it. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, Jamar Chase drafters, you drink free today.
I mean,
yes,
listen,
sir. Let's get that out there right now.
We're a day away from the NFL season starting
tomorrow.
Yeah, Ravens and Chiefs on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man. I'll be there in Kansas City tomorrow on the field at Arrowhead with everyone else on football night. And but Jamar Chase we're a day away.
And we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
It's Andre Yoshevich season.
He's a fantasy life investor, right?
He's a proud fantasy life investor.
Do you have a prediction for how this turns out?
Based on, I want to be very clear here, based on literally zero inside information. I've not talked to Jamar. I've not talked to his father. I've not talked to anyone within his inner circle about this. I want to be super clear on this. Because what am I going to do? Hey, I know everyone else is hitting you up, but you'll tell me, right? My guess is, again, 1,000% guess. My guess is that he plays. I don't know if he plays week 1, but he will. I don't think he's.
Not an extended holdout.
Yeah. I don't think it's an extended holdout. I was in a draft last night. Lawrence is actually there with me as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But we were in a draft. It was I was helping this guy out, 10-team draft. Jamar Chase fell to 9. I mean, just people are so nervous about.
I'd take Garrett Wilson over him. I'd take A.J. Brown. Maybe A.J. Brown. I'm very high on Garrett Wilson now.
I'm very high on Garrett Wilson, too, and we'll get to that. But I'm just curious. We'll get off topic here for one quick, but just for people that are drafting tonight, because there are drafts that are going to happen tonight. Yes. There are drafts that are going to happen Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday, right, throughout the first week here. How I'm sort of the mind, I was coaching this guy. It was part of a contest. We'll talk about it in a second. But anyway, I was giving this guy advice, and I'm like, if Jamar Chase is there at 9, we put connect, and we're like, it's probably A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson, and we were going to go with Garrett Wilson, but Wilson ends up going. And Jamar Chase is there at 9. I'm like, if I tell you right now Jamar Chase is only missing 2 games, he doesn't go if I told you right now Jamar Chase is starting week 3, he's still a first-round pick.
Yeah, you're taking him top 10.
You might still take him top 6 or 7.
Same spot, to be honest.
Is 15 games of Jamar Chase better than 17 of A.J. Brown? I don't know. I think it's pretty close. Right. I think I'd rather have A.J. Brown. I think the thing with Chase is that surely he will get out there.
First off, I don't know that you can guarantee 17 games of A.J. Brown.
He gets 15 of Jamar.
That's true.
For anybody, to be honest, 17 games.
He's going to come back with soft tissue? I don't know.
We're all day-to-day, right? He's day-to-day. We're all day-to-day, the old Dan Patrick line. But what I would tell you, though, is that aren't you a little nervous about A.J. Brown? Because Devontae's, all these reports out of Philadelphia is that Jahan Dotson's going to be a big part of the offense, which I don't get. But again, but whatever. Say he gets 3-4 targets a game. That's an extra, and Saquon gets 4 targets a game. Now you've got 8 on a team that's going to be fairly balanced offensively, that should have a better defense and isn't going to be in a lot of shootouts, that under Kellen Moore, I don't think it's going to be a high pace of play anyway. Yeah. Again, you have to nitpick here, but
he also got that new contract.
Yeah.
He got him and Devontae Smith, so that means something.
There will be some drafts where people get carried away with the Jamar Chase slide. If he starts going after Puka Nacua or Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley, that's when it starts getting really a little bit silly. But no, certainly have to be a little bit nervous. I would guess that he plays week 2. I would guess he plays week 2 would be my best guess.
I'll go week 2 as well. I don't know. He might just play week 1 and let all this kind of.
The issue is
game checks are game checks, man.
Yeah, and Lawrence, he's on a rookie deal. He's got 2 years left. He's got no leverage.
Yeah, right.
Again, we love Jamar Chase. We got number 1 sitting up there on
and he's an investor,
but the Bengals unfortunately hold the cards here.
Yeah, I think it's just that it's between week 1 and week 3. Like, nothing crazy here. Like you said, no leverage, 2 years left. It's got to be in between that.
If he does miss a week or two, I got good news for the Bengals. There's somebody at this desk that could fill in at wide receiver for you. If you don't believe me, watch this.
Or don't watch it. Just watch us looking. Oh, here we go. All right, so that's RG3. This is the event last night.
We got an elite DB out there.
Is that
Right.
Cooper DeJean out there in coverage?
Exactly. There you
Or
go.
is that Riley Moss?
Jason
So anyway,
Sehorn.
so myself and RG3 did the ultimate fantasy draft on behalf of Verizon My Access. We went out on the field. We were at MetLife Stadium. I think I had pretty good coverage, but then Lawrence gets a step on me.
Yeah.
You were expecting help over the top.
I was expecting help over the top.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Safety did you dirty there.
Yeah, it
But let me tell you something. You did some good things right here. You
Okay.
see, I'm telling you to come up and press and don't be scared. I tell RG3, I got the mismatch, but then you like, all right, let me back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me give him some room.
Some pre-snap movement.
But
Yeah,
he starts
exactly.
it. I go
Like
with
Lawrence
the slug
played college
Look,
football.
That hand that you put on me.
I pushed him off your route a little
Yeah,
bit.
that they call that the offhand. That's what you want to do as a DB to get that leverage back.
Yeah.
You turned at the same time I did, so that was good. But like you said, I got that little step in. RG3 put it in the bucket.
Right in the
So
big
we
basket.
had a lot of fun. Anyway, so yeah, Verizon put on this event at MetLife, and Lawrence came by, I came by, RG3 came by. We helped Anthony wherever you are. Anthony, we got Jamar Chase with the 9th pick. But anyway, basically, I was his coach. I was his ultimate fantasy coach in his home league, and so they all went there. It was a great day. We had a great day, and then
real fun.
we went out
Yes,
on
sir.
MetLife Stadium. We threw the ball around a little bit with RG3, who was a good sport. So yeah, much fun. But
good.
yeah, I was a step away. Away, Lawrence.
You got to tip your cap to a good throw once in a while.
Yeah, great throw. And there was no way I couldn't drop the ball. That just like I would vie
Never
for that
heard the
video
end of
not
it.
to be shown
Yes.
today if I would
Whatever the cost was to delete it.
Yeah.
It's like the
exactly.
AFC title game where Mahomes throws to Kelsey, perfect coverage from Kyle Hamilton, but it's just, 3 guys making a really good play.
Yeah, and
Rules
that's
have
what
skewed
happened.
towards the
Three,
offense.
Yeah, I need
three
Connor to break that-
elite athletes right there.
I need Connor to break that tape down. I have other video that
Prince of
maybe
Mukaberry.
we'll get to the other video later, but I have other video of me running a route with RG3 that was pretty good. But all right.
You'll have to stick around for that
Yeah.
good stuff. It's Bold Predictions Day.
It is Bold Predictions
By the
Day.
way, we finally made it. Let's start with some big picture predictions. We're getting to quarterback predictions, running back predictions, all that good stuff. But Matthew, give me a big picture prediction for the 2024 NFL season.
Last year, the San Francisco 49ers, one of the older teams in the NFL, got incredibly lucky with their health. I don't think that happens again this year. So in the NFC Championship game, it is Lions and Packers. No Cowboys, no Eagles, no Niners. I think it is the Lions and the Packers, 2 ascending teams, as you see their odds to get to the to be the champions of the NFC, presented by our friends at DraftKings. So you got the Lions at plus 550, but Packers down there at plus 750. Exactly. So anyway, everyone expects the Niners. They're heavy favorites, and I'm saying they don't do it. I think it's Lions-Packers.
Yeah. NFC low-key a little weak this year, certainly compared to the AFC. The AFC, you're going to get teams like Cleveland and the Chargers potentially missing those teams are dogs to make the playoffs.
By the way, I get that it's plus 1,500, but are you surprised that the Bears have the 8th best odds?
I'm a bit out on the Bears. I think the Bears, the hype train's gotten a little bit.
It went too far.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
8th best odds to win the NFC
They
Championship?
supposed to make the playoffs though, ain't they?
No,
They
they're
went
they're like a
7
coin
and
flip.
10 last year.
They're the
Their
fringe
defense
team.
was a little, you always get worried their defense was hugely dependent on turnovers in the second half of last season. That tends to regress. We'll see, Caleb Williams, there are a lot of expectations on Caleb Williams. I don't think he's going to be an MVP candidate week
That's
one.
why I don't like him for Offensive Rookie of the Year either, because they won 7 games last year. They're in a division with 3 very good defenses. Like the Vikings, who will figure out what Darnold is, but their defense is really good.
3 great coaches.
3 great, right? And
not
so
an easy
right,
division.
and then the Packers defense and the Lions, they're in a really tough division. And so again, what does Caleb Williams have to do? They were a 7-win team last year. What do they have to? What does he have to do to
It's a very
does he have to
strong
get to
field this
10?
year.
Does he have to get to 10 to 11 wins?
If they make the playoffs.
It's
anyway.
playoffs.
At
I would
least
agree.
9,
At
just
least
to have
9.
the winning record, because that's what you draft the quarterback for, to get over that little hump, to get those couple of wins.
Yep. No, I'm with you. I think the Vikings will finish ahead of the Bears in the division.
I like that call.
My prediction.
How about
I think Sam Darnold is, but again, we're getting to bold predictions. This is not one of mine. Sam Darnold's not going to be terrible. That's my prediction. Sam Darnold will be.
Is that bold? I think it's mild.
I think it's
the best
fair.
situation he's ever been in.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold will be league average.
Yeah, it would be Baker Mayfield from last season.
Yeah,
I can get behind that.
What's your big picture?
Yeah, my big picture is going to just be a little bit bigger than what Baker Mayfield did last year. Quite frankly, folks, I'm going with Anthony Richardson, MVP 35-1 coming into his second season. There was two other quarterbacks, right? Two other quarterbacks coming into their second season with 40-1 odds right before week 1. That's one Patrick Mahomes. And he only started one game his rookie year. That's one Lamar Jackson, who came in midway through his rookie year. So I'm banking on Anthony Richardson coming back, getting healthy. This guy's tied for the 15th best odds right now for MVP. And like I just said, it's been shown that you could be a long shot and win that MVP. You don't see it until it happens, and I expect this to happen with Anthony Richardson. I hope he stays healthy. If he's healthy, he's in there. I got Jordan Love and Lamar Jackson finishing behind him for that MVP.
That's shocking to me that Lamar, who's won this award, it's shocking to me that Lamar is that far down. It's shocking to me that Stroud's ahead of Allen. I'm very surprised by some of these odds.
The issue with Lamar is that I think he's going to be held to an extremely high standard. After he won last year, are we going to give him a third MVP before he's made a Super Bowl? Now, I don't care about that stuff. He's the best player this season. He should win MVP. But the thing about Lamar, too, is that he's never going to have the sheer passing numbers. So his case is always you can kind of choose what you want to see with Lamar Jackson's case. And I think that people might skew towards another quarterback. But I'm with you. If I was to take a long shot on the board, I would take Anthony Richardson as well, just because this guy is moldable clay. We don't know what he is. And to your point about, Mahomes, massive long shot when he won the first time, Lamar as well the first time. Cam Newton, the year that he won, people forget, he was a huge long shot. Matt Ryan, the year he won.
Last year, even longer. Matt Ryan was even
longer.
Year, Brock Purdy was 60-1, and he was minus 250 going into Christmas Day before he completely melted down on national television, much to my chagrin.
But if they win the division, and the other thing is that I think that MVP, in addition to your point about seeing what you want to see, there's obviously a statistical element to it, but there's also there's a story element to right, and so. I don't know that I would want to bet C.J. Stroud at the second, but you understand that argument because he's this ascending player. He's very exciting. His second year in the league, and then you also think about somebody like Anthony Richardson. If Anthony Richardson, who's only had 4 games that he's even played in the NFL, leads the Colts to the division title, which is doable.
Yeah, but they're not supposed to win the division.
Right, exactly. Right, but I'm just saying if they win the division and Anthony Richardson looks this crazy combination of Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, and some, a little bit of Josh Allen,
right.
some good
the
passing,
goal line rushing touchdowns.
Exactly.
Then you sort of see what you want to see there with Rich.
Yep.
What do you got for us, Jay?
All right. Well, screw you, Connor. I'm taking the Jets to win the Super Bowl. That's right. They're plus 1900 to win the Super Bowl. The only reason they are that long. It's because people think this franchise is cursed.
No,
this team has a better roster than the Buffalo Bills. They are, I think, a better team than teams who have shorter odds than them, like the Cowboys. I think you just need one thing. I just think you need Aaron Rodgers to be closer to the guy that he was in 2021, maybe a little bit better than the guy he was in 2022. You need the O-line to stay healthy. This defense could be the best in football if Rodgers is close to what he was. And the thing with age, the thing that you get most concerned about is, I guess, arm strength. His arm looks fine. It looks magnificent. Right. And I just think that the lift that whole team on offense is going to get, I think this could be an absolute juggernaut. And I think people are just waiting for something to go wrong. I don't believe in curses. The Red Sox won the World Series in 2004.
Bring out the
Red
Cubs
Sox won the World Series. Curses are made to be broken. And I think the Jets, they have as much talent almost as any team in the league. And this could be their year.
Well, it is nice to see somebody on this table finally say something good about the Jets. Yeah. We've been, it's been a very negative Jets table, but,
we said a lot about good things about Breece Hall.
Yeah, that's true.
And Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson.
The O-line could be legitimately good. And that's the
talent is all there. They need to stay healthy.
I'm with you on that, man. Look, this team has been winning 7 games the past 2 years, and we've seen what they've had at quarterback. And if you don't know, that's That's a very important position. So, and they've still been able to have top 5 defenses. So, like you said, it could be the top defense now that you have an offense that could provide resistance for the opposition.
And I like betting on them. Like, I don't want to back like plus 160 to win the division. Like, this is a high variance team. Rodgers stays healthy. If Aaron Rodgers is like the 9th best quarterback in the NFL, which I think is totally reasonable and viable, Tyron Smith stays healthy. This team could have an elite offense and the best defense in football, and they can win the Super Bowl this year, Connor.
And we got to hear on exactly that mindset from their coach, Robert Saleh, just what the return of Rodgers does for this team.
Is it kind of nice knowing after almost a year that you're going and planning for a game with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean it's he is one of the best and he's playing really well. I've said it, his arm is still 30 and he still has plenty of mobility to be able to create off schedule, which is the hallmark of his game. And so it's I'm just excited for this entire group. It's every year is a new year. There's always going to be new people. There's always going to be even the same people have renewed mindsets. And, I feel like this entire team, this entire organization has a renewed mindset. And like I said, we're just all looking forward to getting the opportunity to compete on Monday night.
Let's take a look at the Super Bowl odds, courtesy of our friends at DraftKings. As you pointed out, Jay, the Jets pretty far down the board there at 19-1. Obviously, the Chiefs and Niners top this list at plus 500 and plus 600.
Yeah, why are the Bengals 13-1 and the Jets are 19-1? The Bengals don't have any defense, and Joe Burrow gets hurt constantly.
How about the Texans?
Why are the Jets double Baltimore's price? I just think that people are buying into the downside of this team too much and not focusing on what can go right, just because it doesn't typically go right for the Jets.
Yes.
Guys, my bold prediction here, as we
ever.
showed, not often.
Hey, Joe Namath got it done.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers can get it done.
There you go.
Quite
Fair
some
enough.
time ago. My bold prediction here, Danielle Hunter, Defensive Player of the Year. I think he takes home that award. It's 35-1. When you look at the board, it's all the same names, right? Micah Parsons, T.J. Watt. People forget Danielle Hunter is a double-digit sack guy. Now he's in maybe the best system he's ever played in under DeMeco Ryans, playing across from Will Anderson, where you're not going to double him every time. So if I'm looking for a value bet on Defensive Player of the Year, it's Danielle Hunter all the way.
I like that because you look at the guys at the top, like Browns are dogs to make the playoffs. Steelers, dogs to make the playoffs. So already, Watt, Garrett facing a little bit of an uphill fight. Bad vibes around the Cowboys. I'm not sure about this Cowboys team and how it's going to go for them. They are a distant second favorite in their own division, so that hurts Parsons a little bit. Let's see it with Max Crosby, Nick Bosa. I think the Niners defense aging could get worse. Aiden Hutchinson is a little bit interesting to me, but yeah, I'm with you. If you want to go further down the board, there's a chance that like the Texans are a 1 seed with a dominant defense.
I was just thinking that. Montez Sweat, former commander, great. Montez Sweat.
There you go. Bears playoffs right there.
Yeah, there you go. Crazy.
All right, fellas, let's move over to the quarterback predictions. And Jay, you are often a supporter of Geno Smith. What do you believe? Where's your belief level at in Geno this year?
Very high, sky high, Connor. Sky high belief in Geno Smith. My prediction is that in fantasy he finishes above Dak Prescott, which might sound a little crazy given that Dak is going as QB9, QB10. Geno's going outside the top 20 QBs. Dak finished second in MVP last season. But I don't think this is actually that bold because it happened 2 years ago with Geno, where he finished as a top 10 quarterback in terms of points per game in fantasy, 4 or 5 spots ahead of Dak. So I just think that with the uncertainty around the Cowboys, still just they didn't add a second receiver, got 2 rookies starting on the offensive line, right tackle, still don't trust that. And I think that a lot of Dak's production came because he was lighting up bad teams indoors last year. Let's see how he goes week 1 in Cleveland. Let's see how he goes week 3 against Baltimore. And with all the stuff around Dak's contract, just a little bit concerned about the Cowboys overall. And meanwhile, I believe in your man, Connor, Ryan Grubb, to really weaponize this Seattle offense. I think the Seahawks are going to surprise a lot of people. I think Geno's just become underrated, which is weird because he was such an amazing story 2 years ago. Now he's something of an afterthought. I think that Geno is an above-average quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way. I love your point about Ryan Grubb's offense, too. Look what Penix did those last 2 years. I think it's going to translate to the NFL. Lawrence, you're sticking...
I agree with everything Jay just said, except every time you say Geno Smith, just put Sam Howell in there, and we're good.
That'd be a
Future Hall of Famer Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Still, huh?
Still. Listen, like, I'm loyal. But no, I just think I agree with you. I think Walker's going to have a big year. I think Fant is really interesting as well as kind of a late tight end sleeper. And then, of course, I think this is the JSN breakout year. DK going to be DK.
Seahawks win the division. It's like plus 700. Bye-bye Niners.
I like that call.
I ain't mad at that.
No.
What do you like, Lawrence, the quarterbacks?
I'm going to go with Bryce Young here. Obviously not a great rookie season, but we all got to admit the roster was like buns. Like, that's what you get when you're the number one overall pick. But he threw 11 touchdowns last season against 10 interceptions. I'm saying he's going to double those touchdown passes, throw for at least 22. They bring in Deontay Johnson, draft Xavier Legette at receiver. They get 2 new guards in, and the most important part of this is Dave Canales, who we just saw him work with Baker Mayfield, had his best season ever. The year before that, he coached Geno Smith to his best season ever. So I'm looking like it could even be some points where we're thinking, like, should I start Bryce Young this week? I think Deontay Johnson, and now having Adam Thielen as that second or third option as opposed to the first, you got a guy like Johnson who can get open in the intermediate parts of the field. That's going to be big for a guy like Bryce Young, who likes to make plays off schedule. So I'm looking for him to double his touchdown passes this season.
You brought up Dave Canales, brought in to support and develop their young quarterback in Bryce Young. We got to hear from Canales on where Young is at entering week 1.
As we start to collect information about Bryce and about our group, our skill group, it all starts with a protection plan, but then as we get to the concepts, it's which ones does he look confident? Which ones does he just feel great about? As we organize our call sheet, it all reflects what we feel most confident, and we'll certainly take, Bryce's feedback, really the quarterback room feedback as we go into those. So I think beyond that, the workload looks the same, as far as just what we're doing on the field, the fundamentals, the footwork, all those things would be the same. But I think the dialogues do kick into another gear as we get into this game.
Matthew, with the quarterbacks, any chance your ride or die has to do with your bold prediction here?
Obviously it does. So that's my bold prediction. Kyler Murray finishes as the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Look, he's my ride or die for a reason. Since he entered the NFL, he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback on a points per game basis, and now I would argue he's got the best weapons around him in the addition of Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride as well. I like Greg Dortch, the human Dortch, as you guys know. Drink for those of you at home who you understand who you are. And, of course, Michael Wilson, who we got some nice moments out of last year. James Conner, a good pass-catching backfield, running back out of the backfield. My argument is that fully healthy, mobile, and with more weapons, Kyler Murray finishes the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. Maybe Josh Allen loses a few rushing touchdowns to Ray Davis or James Cook as they go a little bit more balanced in Buffalo. And then you think about some of the other guys that potentially could get there, right? And so does Pacheco have a big year for Mahomes? I think the combination of rushing and huge passing numbers for Kyler Murray, that's my bold prediction. Number 1 quarterback in fantasy, Kyler Murray. K1. The 1 stands for number 1 in fantasy.
Yep. I like it. Well done, Matthew. I think the good thing, too, is that this is a team whose win total is 7.5, which is kind of ideal for compiling numbers. And I'm with you. I thought Kyler, just subjectively, I thought he looked the best that he did in the second half of last season that he has since that 2021 year, where he's the MVP favorite halfway through the season.
And if Jalen Hurts loses a few rushing touchdowns to Saquon, you sort of see the guys ahead of him that, you can see that path. Josh Allen, right.
Receivers.
Exactly.
Kyler, QB1 for you. My bold prediction, Jordan Love. It's funny to call this a bold prediction. I think he finishes as a top 5 quarterback. He did that last year. He's QB5. He's being drafted around QB10. Jordan Love is completely undervalued in fantasy drafts. I think what people sleep on, guys, is that he does add some rushing. I mean, 6 games last year with 20-plus rushing yards. 8 games last year with 20-plus fantasy points. Only Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts had more games than that. And this is somebody who, it was his first year starting. Take the second half of last year and build it into this year. I think Jordan Love's going to have a monster fantasy season. We got to hear from Jordan Love. He sat down with Maria Taylor on who he models his game after. It might surprise you.
Are there quarterbacks, even when you were growing up or playing in the backyard, that you thought, I'm going to model my game after, or film that you've watched, or who are some of the guys that you've looked up to always growing up?
Yeah, I mean, for me growing up, my favorite quarterback was Michael Vick. Just being, the special player he is, where he can throw the ball almost 70 yards, on the money, and then he can, break you down and run it for 100 yards, being one of the best athletes on the field. So I remember playing Madden with him, and I would always use Mike Vick, and I had the Mike Vick shoes when I was in youth football, and I just love watching him. But, I'm just, a fan of the game. I love watching great quarterback play, so I've watched everybody and just try and watch their game, see the cool things they do, and just try and learn from different guys. But Mike Vick, A-Rod, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, I mean, those are guys I watch a lot of.
Is it crazy to think that someone could be sitting at home playing Madden with Jordan Love?
Yeah, that is very crazy. I mean, even me, I go home and play Madden with myself sometimes, which is crazy. But it's all part of the journey. It's a blessing to think I used to grow up playing this game and playing with these guys, and now I'm on the game. So it's definitely it's a real feeling, but it's crazy.
What a treat the Friday game is going to be. Jordan Love against Jalen Hurts in Brazil on Peacock. It's
exclusively on Peacock.
Only on Peacock.
That's it. Peacock.
Can't watch it anywhere else. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to see what Jordan Love does this season.
Yep, he finished this top 5 QB. It didn't seem like he knew what he was doing in the first half of the season as well.
And it all
he
changed.
was really struggling in those games against the Lions and Raiders in primetime. Figured it out. He's a monster down the stretch.
That first half of the season, he was putting up fantasy points, but it wasn't super efficient.
Control.
Like he got lucky. It felt like he got lucky. Very touchdown based. Felt like he got a little bit lucky. But then the second half of the year, you're just like something snapped, and he was just like, oh, that's the guy. That's the franchise guy. And again, he probably wishes he had his last pass of the season back. But the playoff, up until that last pass in the playoffs, he was brilliant.
Yep.
He was brilliant again. He was brilliant against Dallas. He was brilliant except for one play against the Niners. Yep.
Let's move over to the running backs. Lawrence, I know you want to start with the guy that'll be playing in that Brazil game.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley. It's an important year for him. First year away from the Giants, and everybody talks about he hasn't been good since his rookie year, 2018. Well, I'm saying he's going to have the best season of his career. Now, his rookie year, he had over 2,000 scrimmage yards, 15 touchdowns. But the Giants were 5-11, and they had the 17th best offense in the league. So if Saquon gets 1,600 scrimmage yards and 13 touchdowns, and they're in the playoffs, that's the best year of his career. 1,200 scrimmage yards and 10 touchdowns in only 14 games last season with the Giants, who had the 4th worst offense in the league last year, still was running back 13 in total fantasy points, missing those games included. So I expect Saquon Barkley, who we saw Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift have their best years with the Eagles. I expect Saquon Barkley to do the same. The teams are night and day, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Funny quote from Nick Sirianni at Eagles practice. Yeah, he made a run at practice yesterday, and I just remember I was wearing sunglasses. It was sunny. I was just kind of taking my sunglasses off and looking at a couple of coaches like, all right, this is awesome that we got him here. He's excited to get Saquon going in this offense.
With sunglasses exposition from Nick Sirianni.
Hey,
it's a very Nick Sirianni quote.
Lawrence, when you're saying, you mentioned how Miles Sanders had his best year as an Eagle, was there a lot of competition for other teams that Miles Sanders had his best year?
No, but curious. We saw Miles Sanders last year, right?
Yeah,
sometimes. And just think.
Sometimes we didn't.
And then when you see that, think, man, he ran for 1,200 yards in the NFL season. NFL season. So it's like you just think, what could Saquon do? Stay healthy, Saquon.
The weird thing is I don't feel like there's a middle ground with Saquon. He's either going to absolutely crush, like you say, or he's just going to be a massive disappointment.
He'll sink it where he took him.
Right, exactly, because it's like, it doesn't feel like he's either going to be like running back 2 or running back like 12. It doesn't feel like he's going to be like running back 5 or 6, which is where he's going. Like 2 or 15, you know what I mean? Like
I said, he was running back 13 last year. If he's running back 12 this year, while that's still a RB1, I would consider that a disappointment.
To me, the reason to feel best about Saquon is that it was the Eagles who gave him all of this money, and the Eagles are, along with the Ravens, perhaps the most analytically savvy organization in the sport. And so it was just so weird that they gave him that much money at that position. And so the fact that they did means I think they see something in him that they can really weaponize him, and that he can be a lot better than DeAndre Swift was, say, for example, which was much more of an Eagles type of signing.
The only question, there's 2 questions. Like, he's going to get massive workload in the run game, and it's going to be the best offensive line, and they're going to be in scoring position more often. Do they give him the ball at the goal line, and do they throw him the ball? Because if they do that, then you're off to the races. That's the only concern with Saquon, is other than health, obviously. If Jalen keeps it at the same rate that he did the last 2 years, that's a problem. And if he throws it to Saquon the way he threw it to DeAndre Swift, which is like almost never, that's also an issue.
Yeah, we could live with the receiving. I think he'll get his near the goal line this season. Got to ease up on Jalen.
Preserve his body. Yeah. Yep. Matthew, what's your running back bold prediction?
This might surprise you, but I went Commanders.
Easy partner.
But everyone's going to say it's a homer pick, and maybe it is a little bit. But I don't think
pick.
this is. I think this is legit. Again, it's bold prediction time, but I say Brian Robinson scores double-digit rushing touchdowns, 10 or more rushing touchdowns for Brian Robinson, who's going like way late in the middle of drafts. He's going in the 8th or later in drafts. During Cliff Kingsbury's tenure as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, they were top 8 in the NFL in red zone rush rate. Okay, Kenyon Drake, people. Kenyon Drake led the NFL in goal-to-go carries in 2020. In 2021, James Conner was second. Cliff Kingsbury likes to run when they get in close. And I am telling you, I get that Austin Eckler is the bigger name. And I love Austin. He is fantasy friendly. He's a fantasy life investor. We love Austin Eckler. But
didn't take long to get to that.
No, damn right. But when they get in close, like this, Austin Eckler is going to be the Chase Edmonds in this offense. And Brian Robinson is going to be the James Conner. He is very good around the goal line. He is one of the toughest guys in the NFL. Listen, like, if you even told me, like, this is a guy that got shot and was back on an NFL field in 5 weeks later. And he has been very effective around the goal line in his career. And so I think, especially given the rushing threat of Jaden Daniels, and so you're going to have to keep a linebacker on it, I think that's going to open up. I think they'll do some creative things with RPO. 10 or more touchdowns for Brian Robinson this year. He's going to well outperform his ADP.
Jay?
Okay. My prediction is...
No reaction?
I was kind of waiting for one.
Fine. No, it's like Commander stuff.
Come on. No, but for real though, it's like it's kind of like Gus Edwards, 13 rushing touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
You have the threat of Lamar Jackson pulling that out on the read option. We saw Jaden Daniels already do that. He scored that way. Well, it's either going to be Robinson or it's going to be Jaden Daniels. Pick your poison. So 10 touchdowns, that is very reasonable.
Thank you.
Sure. And I'm on board. All right, my prediction is Tony Pollard finishes as a top 10 running back in fantasy. Now, I think everyone is scared off of Pollard because the idea that it's going to be a 50-50 split with Tajay Spears and the timeshare and everything. Well, 2 years ago, Tony Pollard was in a timeshare where Ezekiel Elliott kept on gobbling up touches, gobbling up touchdowns off of him, and he still finished as as RB8 in Dallas in 2022. So I think that Pollard, from the preseason, from training camp reports, he looks like he's fully back from his broken leg, looks super explosive. So I think that Pollard can bounce back. And if Pollard gets back to the level he was 2 years ago, Tajay Spears not going to be getting 50% of the touches in that offense. Pollard's going to get more as he plays better. So I think that he can be a top 10 running back.
You don't pay Tony Pollard that money if you don't think that. No. And he's had a great summer. You're absolutely right, Jay.
We have seen this talent before. Friend of mine, Ron Chandler, who is a fantasy baseball expert, legend in the space. Anyone remembers Baseball HQ back in the day? So, and a shout out to Ron Chandler. But Ron used to have a rule, and it applying to fantasy baseball, which is once a player displays a skill, they own it. And so, to that point, we have seen Tony Pollard be an elite fantasy running back, literally less than 2 years ago. Last year was a bad year. You mentioned the broken leg off the injury. So I think this is going to be a better offensive line, obviously under Bill Callahan as well. It's going to be a push it forward offense under Brian Callahan. Tajay Spears is going to be there as well, but I like the call. It's a little high, but I mean, Tony Pollard has the talent.
That's bold.
Bold.
Even with him finishing in the top 10 a couple of years ago, and then you got Tajay Spears there, so it's definitely bold. I do like Tajay Spears a little more, and I don't think he'll have to. Like, I could see Tony Pollard having more touches, but like last year, Tajay Spears was the more efficient runner than Derrick Henry and Tony Pollard for what it's worth, but we'll see. They both in a good spot. Tony Pollard is his best when he don't have to carry the load.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. All right, so hey, out there, audience, Tampa Bay Trey, you listening? All right, Tampa Bay Trey, listen up. All right, go ahead, Connor. What's your bold prediction?
You like this one? Staying on brand. Audric Estime ends the season as the Broncos starting running back. Not Javonte Williams, not Jaleel McLaughlin. Audric Estime, who had over 13 rushing yards, 18 rushing touchdowns for Notre Dame last season in a pro-style offense. 3 Denver running backs had 100-plus touches last season. Samaje Perine out the door. Audric Estime, that little old 5th-round pick, will own this backfield come December.
Yeah, I like it, Connor. A lot of uncertainty in that backfield.
A lot of uncertainty in the backfield. Sean Payton is a guy that's not afraid to mix it up, not afraid to say, you know what, this is the guy that's working. A lot of people forget that when they went into the season, Alvin Kamara was the third running back on that list. I think they had Adrian Peterson and Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, oh, well, Alvin Kamara, like, he's the third down back out of Tennessee. He was a day 3 pick.
Yeah,
and people were like, whatever.
Because they had Adrian Peterson.
They had Adrian Peterson. That's what I'm saying. They had Adrian Peterson and they had Mark Ingram. And everyone was just like, maybe they'll throw a couple of passes Kamara's way, but whatever. 3 games in, it was the Alvin Kamara show.
You want to target on certain backfields. This is where like Kyron Williams comes from because he's only got Cam Akers to leap over. So yeah, I think Estime, it's a great call.
Not being taken in the top 60 running backs.
I like Estime. I like Jaleel McLaughlin too for those reasons as well.
Especially
Again,
PPR.
remember, McLaughlin and Estime are 2 guys that Sean Payton picked. He inherited Javonte Williams. And there's been different reports out of camp about Javonte Williams. They were down on him, now they're back in, but maybe, I like the call. And definitely on brand.
The NFL is kicking off the season with 2 huge matchups. Thursday, September 5th, it's Ravens at Chiefs on NBC and Peacock. Then on Friday, yes, the following day, live from Brazil, it's Packers versus Eagles only on Peacock. We're taking our first break. More bold predictions are ahead.
I think we should always make a peacock noise whenever we promote Peacock.
I'm down. We'll do it all year.
I think that's what a peacock sounds like.
Yeah, we actually
But
can't
it do
confirm
sound
that.
like some animal, though.
Wait, someone get me a peacock sounder. What's an actual peacock sound like?
Wide receivers and tight ends after this. The Roto-World Fantasy Football Draft Guide is now available exclusively through a new partnership with Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. Get a Fantasy Life Plus subscription and receive the Roto-World Draft Guide plus fantasy, DFS, and betting tools to help you dominate the draft all season long. Use promo code ROTO10 for 10% off. Go to NBCSports.com/fantasylife to learn more.
There's a waiver bid tool. There are parlay builder tools. It's not just about drafting. If you're like, oh, well, I've done my draft. This is all. There's a league sync that helps you sync all your teams and figure out, oh, these are trades you should suggest. Again, whatever scoring you have, it's an unbelievable tool for DFS, for pick'ems, for season-long fantasy, for dynasty, you name it, all there. Fantasy Life Plus. Telling you.
Who's eating good? Served by Applebee's. Our bold wide receiver predictions. But before we get there, let's take a look at a Cooper Kupp clone that might be out there. Watch this.
Hey now. Look at that.
Tracking.
There you go.
Wow. Even with the bad shadows. Is this MetLife, right?
Wow. Yeah,
see the
MetLife. There you go. The explosiveness at the ball. Again, accurate, right? Exactly.
Right in the sunset. Not easy.
And I had to reach out for it. RG3 didn't hit me in stride.
A little rusty.
He had been throwing a lot of balls, but that's same thing. That was at the Verizon My Access event.
We done got footage of you playing corner, now receiver. So you like Travis Hunter out there.
I like a young Travis Hunter out there. 1,000%. Two-way player. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Is there anything I can't do?
Yeah, I don't know.
All of the above, I think.
Don't let us answer that question.
Not that I can see.
We're going to opt out of responding.
Not drink a Diet Coke.
Yeah. There you go. Fair enough.
Oh man. Can you do a wide receiver bold prediction?
I can do that, my friends. And so my bold prediction, it's interesting. Lawrence is all in on Bryce Young. Well, who's he going to be throwing to? Deontay Johnson.
Yes,
That's my bold prediction. Deontay Johnson finishes as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver
That's bold.
this season, despite the fact that he's going, I've seen him go outside the top 30 at wide receiver in some drafts as well. Look, this is somebody in 2021 that finished as wide receiver 8 in points per game. 4 straight seasons with a target share of at least 22%. Last year, 43% of his team's end zone targets. Dave Canales has already come out and said, this is going to be the focal point of our passing offense, right? Remember last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were second in the NFL under Dave Canales in wide receiver target share. And so now you've got a team that has an elite wide receiver in Deontay Johnson. The best way, you think about what he did for Baker Mayfield last year. Well, part of that was like, hey, Baker, keep throwing it to Mike Evans.
Yep.
And obviously, Deontay Johnson's a very different wide receiver physically than Mike Evans, but the fact of the matter is he is a true number 1 in this league, and he's going to get fed like that. And so, give me Deontay Johnson as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave any of my drafts without him. He's got an 1,100-yard season under his belt. You see what Adam Thielen was able to do. He was a top 10 fantasy receiver through 10 weeks last season, people. That's Deontay Johnson now, so buy in.
How about another wide receiver you're buying in on?
Garrett Wilson, definitely. And for Garrett Wilson, I'm going to go you could call it bold, but if you know the talent and seeing that he's won 1,000 yards twice already, I'm going he's going to top 1,500 yards this season. This is why, because his quarterback's not Zach Wilson, Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, Joe Flacco, Mike White. Shout out to Chris Streveler over there in the CFL. It's Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, while he's not Devontae Adams, you can't tell me that he don't got that type of potential. And with Aaron Rodgers' last 3 seasons with Devontae Adams, where he started at least 14 games, he averaged 116 receptions, over 1,400 yards, and 14 touchdowns. I don't think he's going to get the 14 touchdowns, but 1,500 yards is in play for a guy like Garrett Wilson who could beat you at every spot on the field.
Couldn't agree more, Lawrence. The further that Garrett Wilson gets away from the Joe Flacco era, the better that he will be. Aaron Rodgers, much bigger.
It's going to be a monster. Yep. Guys, I'm staying with the New York wide receiver.
Is that comeback player of the year,
Joe
Flacco?
That's what I was alluding to, Matthew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
how's he doing right now?
Yeah.
Backing up Anthony Richardson.
I don't know. He's doing fine. He's
living life. He's
comeback player of the year.
Check, I tell you that.
I'll tell you this.
Playoff game from Flacco.
He's on an NFL roster, which a year ago he wasn't.
That's true.
He's happy he's not on his couch.
On a nice backup quarterback contract.
Great comeback from Netflix on the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Inspiring.
I'll go with another New York wide receiver. How about the newcomer, Malik Neighbors? I think he finished as a top 10 wide receiver. Malik Neighbors. Not in Giants media. They know how good he is because they've watched him now since the spring. Yeah. But the world still doesn't know how talented this guy is, right? He could finish have a better wide receiver season than Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. Just the volume. Yeah. He's the guy for the Giants. And I think, listen, Daniel Jones is not good, I understand, but he's good enough. He's good enough to get Malik Neighbors the ball.
1,000%.
Daniel Jones isn't a guy that you're looking at and calling a franchise quarterback anymore. You're starting in fantasy as a QB1. But he's better than people realize where he can get that is number 1 wide receiver the ball in Brian Daboll's offense. That's what matters.
People were fading, and I raised my hand because I was one of them. People were fading Mike Evans last year because of Baker Mayfield. Baker's no good. No, we have seen this before. We have seen fantasy wide receivers have productive seasons on a quarterback. Like, now the narrative has changed. But 2 years ago, no one thought Jared Goff was any good. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was putting up points. Daniel Jones is and I don't say this as a disrespect thing, Daniel Jones is a professional NFL quarterback. Like, is he great? No. Is he the franchise guy? Probably not. Is he worth the money the Giants are paying him? Also probably not. Can he get the ball somewhere near to Malik Neighbors so that Neighbors can come down with it? 100%.
He might get 100 catches.
I think the Giants are going to surprise people by being more competent than people expect.
The front seven's very good.
There are a lot of people whose jobs are on the line in that organization. If they're not good this year, I think Daboll's gone, Daniel Jones is gone. There are a lot of incentives for this team to do everything possible to get the most out of this year specifically. They can't be tanking.
I don't think Daboll's gone.
You sure?
Too good.
He's coach of the year 2 years ago. Come on.
People get fired after winning coach of the year a lot. It's a strange thing.
It happened to Vrabel.
Vrabel lost in 2 years. Vrabel didn't do anything wrong either. Right. He's gone. 2 years on the 1 seed with Tannehill.
The Belichick whispers will grow if they have a tough start. But I'm a believer in Daboll and I'm a believer in Joe Schoen.
I agree with that. I'm a Daboll and Joe Schoen believer.
Ron Rivera won Coach of the Year twice, Matthew. It can turn quickly for Coaches of the Year.
But I think they know what they working with right now. Brian Daboll damn sure know what he working with. You're right. Yeah. So
I believe in Daboll. I think they'll be better than expected this year. 500 type of team.
Either way, Malik Neighbors going to eat. I like this call. My only issue is I don't know if it's that bold.
He's not being drafted top 20.
He absolutely is not. No, I know. So, he is in every league I'm in.
I
have a lot of Malik Neighbors.
It's starting to catch up.
I didn't get him in any leagues. I feel left out.
If you play in a league with Giants fans, forget.
I got to trade.
You know what? We're going to start.
You got him in our league?
I believe I have him in our league. But, I'm in 25 leagues. I have him in probably 17 of those 25. But what I'll tell you is that we'll start a mid-season guillotine league. We'll let you get Malik Neighbors.
You can try.
You can start a guillotine league whenever you want during the season. I was me.
Neighbors
throw a little plug in there.
Yes.
Yeah, we're keeping the lights on.
The company you now own.
Yes. Yes. Interesting.
1,000%.
Curious.
1,000% as I'm sitting there wearing a Fantasy Life t-shirt. You bet. Company man.
My next wide receiver prediction is I think that Cooper Kupp and Rashee Rice both outperform Puka Nacua, and Puka Nacua texts Jay Croucher asking him to remove him from a Twitter profile picture. Right. I just think that Nacua, one, he's been banged up in the preseason. It's a red flag. He's banged up in college. He plays a very physical brand. And I think that he's an injury risk. But more to the point, his final 10 regular season games last year, you know how many times he got caught more than 5 balls? Once. all of his production, well, not all of it, a big chunk of his production came in the first 4 weeks when Kupp was out of the lineup, and then a lot of it came in the back half of the season on these like 70-yard touchdowns, which are very difficult to count on. So I think that Kupp is going to be the number 1 wide receiver option for the Rams. And then Rashee Rice turned the corner in the second half of the season. I think there's this idea that, Xavier Worthy's there, Hollywood Brown's there. Now there's going to be all these guys taking away from Rashee Rice. I look at Worthy and Hollywood Brown as though they're like JJ Redick spacing the floor. And the guy who's really going to benefit from their presence is Rashee Rice. Those 2 guys are going to make it a lot easier for Rashee Rice. These crosses over the middle. I think the Rashee Rice is clearly the number 1 wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. I think he has top 10 wide receiver upside this season.
If it wasn't for the off-the-field issues, Rashee Rice would have gone a lot higher in drafts. And the drafts rooms and the ADP hasn't caught up to the news that, and we've talked about this throughout the offseason, which is like the way the NFL generally works is that they wait until the legal case has been resolved in one way or the other, and then they will rule whether a suspension is warranted. And so Rashee Rice, who has not had his day in court, and again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty and all the evidence is seen. Once that happens and then there's a determination on his legal status, then the NFL rule. The court case isn't until December.
Yeah.
So I think that if Rashee Rice gets suspended for the incident that happened in the offseason this year, that happens in 2025.
Yep.
And so once you take that specter out of it, I agree with you. If we're just talking about Rashee Rice, the football player, and not the human being, Rashee Rice, the football player, should have a monster year.
Yep.
Yeah. Guys, let's close out our bold predictions with tight end. Jay, what are you looking at in this group?
So going with Hunter Henry to finish as a top 10 tight end, very sexy pick and player, Hunter Henry. He saw 38% of his team's red zone targets last year. That was second among tight ends. When you're looking for long shots to really succeed, what you want are uncertain situations. Like, we don't know what this Patriots receiving room is going to be, but I feel pretty good about Hunter Henry getting targets in the most valuable real estate on the field. So give me Hunter Henry as a surprise top 10 tight end.
I like
it. See here, tight end touchdown leaders, as you pointed to, Jay Hunter Henry with 6 last year. Matthew, what do you got for? I feel like you're cooking up something here, some home cooking.
Yeah, again, but I was just trying to come up with a
bold.
Well, I know, but it's a we have to be bold predictions, and the Commanders are so bad, it makes it easy to make bold predictions off of them as well. But I think this one's truly bold. I believe the Washington tight end, which will in the beginning of the year will be Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott towards the end of the year, but I believe the Washington tight end will outscore Brock Bowers, who by all accounts is as good a tight end prospect to come since Kyle Pitts to come out of college. But my argument here is, first off, I tell my daughters, find you somebody who looks at you the way Cliff Kingsbury looks at Zach Ertz, right? Under Kingsbury in Arizona from 2021 to 2022, this is 21 games he played under Kingsbury. He was the 5th best tight end in fantasy on a points per game basis. Sorry, 6th best. He was the 6th best fantasy tight end on a points per game basis as well, right? Since 2014, he's never had a target share below 18%. 30% of his team's red zone targets last year, tied for second most among tight ends. And think about what else is there in Washington, right? Jahan Dotson has moved on. De'Ami Brown to this date has been mostly just a deep threat. Luke McCaffrey's a rookie. Zach Ertz is going to be a lot more involved in this offense, and what I think will be a competent to above average passing offense under Jaden Daniels than people think. Meanwhile, Brock Bowers, who has phenomenal talent, but he goes to a situation where you've got questionable quarterback play in Minshew and or AOC. He'll start with Minshew, but if he struggles, he'll have a short leash. And then you also think about Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers. You've got Michael Mayer there as well. There's a lot of mouths to feed on a team that wants to be run heavy. So, yes, I think the Washington tight end, Ertz and then Sinnott, that as a position outscores Brock Bowers this year. That's my bold prediction.
To be fair to Matthew, he's always thought this. Take a listen from some sound back in April after the draft.
I have a crazy take for you, which I think, 48 hours ago would have been seen as insane, but I want everyone's reaction to this. I argue that fantasy-wise this year, among tight ends, Ben Sinnott has a better fantasy year than Brock Bowers. Hail the Commanders, hail victory.
You're out of pocket with that comment. You're completely out of pocket.
Wow.
And that was before Zach Ertz joined the Commanders, so, now that he's there. But, yeah.
Wow, how dare you speaketh like that about the Brocketh. Brock Bowers, I got him finishing as a top 8 fantasy tight end this season, Matthew. If you watch that one drive he played in the preseason, he played with the starters. Him and Michael Mayer both played every snap. The difference is Brock Bowers was at the X, the Y, the Z, the H-back, fullback, out wide, caught his first pass out wide on a slant for 16 yards. So, yeah, they got the iffy quarterback play, but But, Matthew, key words you said are they want to run the ball. But how much can you run if you ain't winning? And how much do we expect these Raiders? We like Antonio Pierce, but how much do we expect them to win? They got to figure out a way to use Mr. Brock Bowers.
Their defense was good last year.
I'll keep this one simple, guys. Kyle Pitts does not finish as a top 10 tight end, despite being drafted as tight end 7. I mean, tight end 14 in points per game since entering the NFL. He doesn't catch touchdowns, 6 touchdowns in 44 career games. Kirk Cousins will make him better. He will not make him the fantasy gold that we desperately want him to be. Fantasy season just got better this season, $1 million better. Create or join a private Yahoo Fantasy League and enter the $1 million NBC sweepstakes. Plus, earn extra entries to win when players on your fantasy roster score a touchdown during an opening weekend game on NBC or Peacock. Download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/FantasyMillion to learn more. We're taking our last break, but when we're back, we're wrapping up the show with Last Call. Find out what sides and totals we're taking in Week 1. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium. Download the app and use promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The crown is yours.
It's time for Last Call. Let's take a look at our early line alert for Week 1, courtesy of DraftKings. Jay, anything you like on the board?
I like Sunday Night Football, Connor, on NBC and Peacock. I'm taking the Lions -3.5 over the Rams. Rams, a ton of injury concerns at the moment. Dealt with it all through training camp. I think the Lions are going to be the 1 seed in the NFC.
Lawrence, what about you?
I'm going to go off screen here. Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown, +120 versus the Texans. Last time he played them, he had 2 in the first quarter alone. That's what I'm going with.
Matthew?
How about the Browns -2.5 at home? Listen, Dak on the road, CeeDee Lamb, is rusty as well. Browns defense really, really good at home as well. So, yeah, give me the Browns -2.5 over the Cowboys. Big game that Dak, I think, will falter in. Dak on the road is not good either. No.
I like the under. Titans at Bears. 44.5 is the point total. I'll take the under. 2 young quarterbacks, coaching staffs that are trying to protect these young quarterbacks. I think the Bears defense is pretty good. See a lot of running in this game. 44.5 is pretty high for this one. Caleb Williams' expectations. I'm excited. We need to tone it down.
It's closing time. Means you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. It's Love-Hate Day tomorrow for Jay, Lawrence, and Connor. I'm Matthew. We will see you tomorrow when we've got football tomorrow night. Peace out.
Okay, you have a chance to win $1 million in the NBC sweepstakes on Yahoo Fantasy. Just download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/FantasyMillion for additional details. What are you waiting for?
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.